Hey everybody. There we go. Excited about this. I know we had late night ping pong session last night. I played a little bit longer. Excuse the voice. I'm from Florida, so I'm not used to anything above 80 Fahrenheit. I think that's very different here. But give a little introduction. Myself, Anthony Berrena, CRO at Playwire. I've been here 12 years now, which is a lifetime in this industry. And I'm going to talk about how we've worked with partners and how we helped them on the app side of things with advertising and things like that. Hopefully I say something interesting. If not, let me know. But just interact, whatever it might be. Hopefully I'm more interesting than looking down. So give about that. So who is Playwire? What do we do? Right? Playwire has been around 15 years. We started off as a direct sales house, so we invested heavily in direct sellers. We're actually the first sales house for Sony Gaming, Twitch Entertainment, Sony Entertainment. So right now we have about 35 direct sellers. But we worked with a lot of people for direct sales. They said, hey, you're doing really well. Can you help us on the other side of things with our directly sold inventory? So then we started actually managing that. And right now we manage 600 websites and apps fully across ad ops, yield, direct sales, everything. We worked with those partners and they said, hey, can you help us on the video side? So we actually created a video platform, all these other pieces for it. Then, about 4 or 5 years ago, people kept coming to us and say, we have apps. Can you help us with the app side? That wasn't our forte, but we said, you know what? If our partners are doing it, let's figure that out. So right now, like I said, we work with about 600 apps and websites. We serve about 70 billion impressions a month, so pretty sizable footprint. You guys can see the logos of who we work with. But we looked at app, and it reminded me so much of like desktop when like 11 or 12 years ago. And I'm sure you guys deal with that, where it's pretty archaic, where no one's really talking to each other. You're setting up waterfalls. You're doing all these different things. And at the end of the day, as a developer or a company, you're not making as much as you should be. And kind of the methodology we've always taken is, how can we be the voice of the publisher? How can we help that? So again, we did that dive into monetization. And first thing, there's so many mediation SDK partners out there. You guys know that. Some of them are here. None of them play nice with one another. Everyone hides their bids. You don't know what that looks like. You have to devote tech resources. You have to continuously keep updating them, all these different things. And it was just messy. And it just didn't make sense because you weren't getting the best possible yield from that. Going to yield, again, I mentioned waterfall before, and it's exactly that, where based on historical information, you were putting someone at 350 or whatever it might be because, hey, last week that's what they did. Then this week might be different, whatever it might be, but you're going cascading from one to another and another. What happened was the actual bid that came in at that third tier, we put at 310, actually backed out to 250. So you're losing money right there. Right away, you don't run. And you have this, then you gotta look at reports, you gotta do all these other things. But more importantly, you actually had someone that wanted to pay more money for that. They were willing to give you, but they didn't get the chance to actually do that. So you've lost money on that bid that you actually accepted, and someone's gonna pay you $1 plus more on that. So at one glance, whatever, but if you multiply that times hundreds or millions of times, you're leaving a ton of money on that. Third, it's a black box. Again, I keep saying it, but it reminds me of Google from 10 years ago where it's, hey, the bid wanted 250. What happened? It was fine. But all these mediation guys are working off net, and I work with them, so they know this, but I'm sure you guys deal with this too. They work off net bids. A bid could come in at $40, $50, $10. You have no idea. But you come up and you get $2 and you go, okay, well, it won it must be the best. That's not true. There's no transparency in any of this stuff. It literally is a black box. That's why we have all these learnings from the website of things. So again, all our partners were asking for it. People were coming to us, and we created, hopefully, what you guys see is a simple solution. So this is, again, about 3 or 4 years ago, a single SDK integration. So all those mediation partners and all those other ones, we've taken the time to integrate with them, be able to unwrap them. That's already over here. All the other pieces that make it is the fact that it's a unified auction, that we have our direct sales, I'll get into that. We have header bidding, so pre-bid, everything else, Amazon, open bidding, all those other pieces to it in one simple SDK. And we've unified the auction in that sense. So We have open bidding, I'm not saying in, direct sales, all those pieces for it that are bidding in real time in real CPMs. So it's not, oh, this person bid $10 last week and we did this. No, it's actually really competing against it. So it's a real competition for it. And again, we saw increases on that. Third is that we work off transparent rev share. So it's not net bids. If we get a $40 bid from whoever, great, take whatever percentage we work out on it. But you know exactly what's happening. On the desktop, mobile side of things, everything is transparent. There's literally all these things that track and track and track, and you know what the DSP takes, the SSP, and everything else. And Apple wasn't like that. And we're trying to bring that same methodology and say, here it all is. If you should be making X amount of money, it's right there. No one else is taking a cut. So again, the old way, it was really archaic, no one really talking to each other, and this SDK really wasn't getting the best yield for a developer or a company that was doing it. We're trying to turn that and say, let's do the same thing we did here. It's transparent, it's all there, and let's be the voice of our publisher. Let's speak on their behalf. And so that sounds great, but what else do we do? Manage all those pieces for it. So we still work with those mediation partners. There still are waterfall pieces of it here and there. So we have a full team that literally goes in there and does the optimizations, does it in real time. We have all the demand relationships. We have brand safety, so we work with a lot of other third parties and ourselves that do that. We're a large player in the COPPA space, so we've taken that and taken those same learnings. But we've been able to do all those different things. Then with pre-bid, Amazon, all those, we've done it all server side. So there's no update for your users. There's nothing you have to do. So we're doing that in the background. And the same thing for the SDKs. We're taking that, managing it, and then doing all the updates, that heavy lifting. So direct sales is important. I mentioned a couple times, and that usually gets people's eyes open, like, whoa, direct sales. All those guys are doing performance. I would say about 96% of the revenue is performance. All our direct sales is brand. We've had this whole team in there for 15 years. Work with Hulu, Disney, you guys can read all that. But one of the really interesting things too, and how we separate ourselves from others, is the fact that we have app, but we also have desktop, video, all these things. So when we talk to a Disney, it's not just that person looking at their phone. We're gonna be able to hit them through the whole household. That, yeah, they're looking at their phone, they're on their app, great. Now they're watching TV, where we're hitting them on CTV. Oh, now dad's playing fantasy football, we can hit them there. All these different things. So we're getting budgets allocated to us that is all unique from it. And again, it's all guaranteed CPM, and it competes against the performance. Hey, if the performance is better, great, but it is that unified auction. See who actually wins at the end of the day. Another thing is data and revenue intelligence. So I mentioned direct sales, hit that piece again. A big piece, and if you guys aren't doing this, everyone should be, is data. We got allocated a lot of money based on DE&I, diversity, inclusion, and that, where we work with companies that say, we want to spend across underrepresented audiences like Latinx, African American, Asian American, all these different things. So if you're sitting on data or have any type of login information, regardless if you talk to me or not, you are sitting on a gold mine and should be leveraging that nonstop. The other piece is we're doing a lot of real-time optimization. So if, again, take what you want with this, but if you're just putting your impressions and your users in the open market, advertisers are buying that for pennies on the dollar. So if you're not doing those optimizations, you're losing it. But the thing that we're doing is, in real time, we have algorithms, whatever it might be, that is saying, hey, this person in Florida that loves Sonos or whatever else, he's worth $10. Don't let them buy it for 10 cents. So we're putting those different flooring and all these other pieces for it together. So just regular questions. Who do we work with? Or what do we work on? Android, iOS, Unity. Imagine you have it, we're able to do it. Again, COPPA is another piece, so if anyone has COPPA in here, would love to chat. That's a super garden wall world. We're the #1 COPPA supplier in the US. And yeah, if you're thinking about like where you can actually make money and do these things, COPPA is a big piece. Where, I don't know if you guys know this, but Google on August 15th is anyone they deem under 18 will be COPPA. So as all these casual games and everything else, you really have to start to think about that and how you can leverage that audience, because there's not a lot of places you can actually get kids demand from. I mentioned before, we work in desktop, we work in video, so a lot of different things. Our partners like the fact, and that's the whole reason it started, is that, hey, I have a desktop application, I have a website, can you guys help me over here? So we have that across the board. All the units you can imagine, banner, interstitial, rewarded. I mentioned playable because the fact that we have a creative in-house team, we're doing different things that actually do skinned pre-rolls that we can actually, with the units themselves, instead of just like a standard, like a standard unit that's just running there, we can do something creative and customizable and something that's interesting that actually gets your users on that. So I can say all that, but what does that actually mean? So Letterboxd, they're a top 10 entertainment app in the US. They switched to us and they made 200% more. That's pretty good, right? The fact that we have direct and all those other things, they saw the CPMs increase 50%. Same thing for chess. Chess is the number one, I think it's like obviously the number one chess app, but with casual gaming, it's top 3. They saw, again, a 200% increase. So I can say whatever I want, but those are 2 large apps that thought they were doing well. And you think you know what's going on, but if you're kind of operating this black box and you're not leveraging what you actually have, you're just missing out. So again, regardless, work together or not, you guys should be looking at your app, look at your partners. Are you working off net bids? Are you working off rev share? Hey, all this login data information, what's going on with it? How is it being leveraged? Is it being leveraged? All those different things. Hey, is everything performance-based? And I made $1,000 today, I'm gonna look 2 days later and I make $750? That's just life. There's all these things that you could be doing. So that's it. Hopefully I said something interesting. If not, great, but any questions or anything else?
Yeah. Any questions, folks? Let's have a think about one for myself. So one of the things I'm thinking about, you've explored a whole bunch of areas about kind of thinking about data, and obviously I would actually argue that data has been the single biggest factor that's changed behavior across the board. Now, one thing that we were actually hired by the Information Commission Office in the UK, and you mentioned about Google.
Data's different in the UK though.
Oh, no. No, the issue is that if you sell any game to a UK citizen, you are going to now be affected by the age-appropriate design code.
Yeah.
What that means is, beyond copper, you now no longer can assume that someone is over 18 unless you have proof. And at the moment, Google and Apple are not currently being held accountable to prove that, and they're actually the only people who can even have a hope of doing it because we have no client data. So, I mean, I think your point about having awareness of child-friendly behavior is incredibly important. How many of the developers out there that you meet are actually paying attention, not just the fact that COPPA compliance, because obviously we've got to deal with data anyway, but the impact that has on targeting of ads?
Honestly, none. Unless you literally are a kid's app and hey, it's a Disney SpongeBob or whatever it might be, and they know, hey, this is it, no one's really, like you said, taking awareness to it or anything like that. So it's one of those things that you have to be ready for. The same way that on the website side, the cookies disappearing, people got ready, and hopefully they are. But this is going to happen, where if you have that casual game or whatever it might be, and it could be some kids, it may not, you're going to be affected by it. So then how can you leverage the other side of your audience and take advantage of it? And you should be doing it.
No, absolutely.
But,
I think it's already happened, actually. I think we have we're not there yet, but we've seen the rise.
It's starting to. I agree, yeah, but it's.
But I think some people are going to get bitten.
Heads in this, yeah, exactly.
Faster than we think.
Yeah, agreed.
There was another question here. Sorry.
Hi, how you doing? My name is Jesse. I work for Enthusiast Gaming. I had a question. So, a couple of presentations ago, there was a lot of talk around, catching up with the user and how traditional ads are really not going to cut it anymore, and playable ads and in-game reward ads. I'd love to get your thoughts on those compared to the banners, the skins, some of these pretty high-performing ad units, and how you kind of think that landscape is going to look over the next 2 to 3 years.
I think you said it right, where they are high-performing, but like what metrics they looked at, I'm guessing viewability, KPI, those standard ones are great. But what gets that user, people have ad blindness wherever it might be. And I think it really is that, how can you get that integrated look and feel? So playable is great and everything else, but we work with some people that like a dream bubble or things like that. How can you be really integrated within the game itself and make it part of the experience, as opposed to that person seeing like, I know this is an ad, may or may not interact with it, but it's almost that they're positioned to like think like that's an ad. That's why I like the idea of, like I mentioned, the playable piece, because at least it's a little different. It gets that person like thinking about it or just engaged a little bit more. But that's just the beginning. I feel like it really is being able to be more and more and create mini landing pages, whatever it might be, not pages, but mini worlds or anything within the app itself that a person can be fully engrossed in it.
Let me come back with the mic so we can get it on the recording. Sorry.
Do you still see there being a place for, the traditional ad placements? Because I mean, if you had heard a few, you would have thought that they were extinct at this point, and I don't think that that's going to be further from the truth. But I'd be curious where you see that in the coming years.
I agree with you 100%, right? Like, I mean, it's the same way people say display is going to eventually die in websites. There's display ads everywhere. That's just a part of it. But okay, that's a part of it. We'll accept it, and great, we'll do that. But how can we get more engaged in everything else? I don't think it's going away. No.
Yeah, I thought banner ads were going the way of the dodo years ago. And
Thank you. Exactly right.
But what gets me most is that we're now seeing on all the kind of hyper casual games the same ad format that we were debating in '98 about what the banner ad size should be at all. And we're now seeing old school models that we killed off in '98 being used in games now. So even the simplest thing that we think isn't going to work suddenly turns out maybe it will work with the right experimentation, right timing, right data, etc.
It's the same thing with contextual, right? Contextual a decade ago now it went away. Now all of a sudden it's the most important thing ever, and everyone thought it was dead or not worthwhile.
Well, when Massive were bought by Microsoft back in, someone's going to remind me, I think it was early 2000s.
I was going to say early 2000s or
that was we assumed that digital in-game advertising was dead. When I was at Sony, we were doing virtual world PlayStation Home, we tried to experiment with it. It didn't work. But now it's like 4 companies made by friends of mine who are focused specifically on that. And I think we're now starting to see some of that come true. So, what comes around goes around. Any other questions?
Easy enough.
On that note, I'm going to say thank you very much. That was
Thank
fantastic.
You. All right, thank you.